Welcome to another episode of the Jobology podcast. I'm your host, Brandon, and today my guest is the former Vice President of Human Resources for a large gaming company in Las Vegas, Nevada. She talks to us all about how she manages hundreds, thousands of employees, and what happens if you catch someone cheating. So without further ado, Rita.
Thank you for being with me today, Rita.
Thank you, Brennan. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so the first question we always like to start with here so that everybody kind of knows what we're talking about is what if I were to say, hey, what do you do for a living? How would you answer that versus what's your like official job title?
Okay. In human resources management,
Okay,
many years. So yeah.
nice. And then is there like an official title that you had on like your business card or something like that?
The last position I held was vice president of human resources at a gaming company, a large gaming company here in Las Vegas.
Cool. That's awesome. I mean, that seems like Vegas would seem like there could be a lot more ins and outs than the traditional, HR job. So that seems very interesting. I'm, happy to learn, a lot more about that. Um, why? Like, why get into HR in the first place? Is it something that you were always interested in? Is it something you kind of fell into? Like, how did that come about?
Totally fell into it. I was in another job. I was in banking for many years. Well, I say many years, probably about 5 years
Hmm.
before HR found me. I had an executive at the aircraft company that's was local to where I lived, who wanted to interview me for another position, an admin type of position. And I said, sure, when would you like to meet with me? And
Yeah.
he set a date and I went to the interview and he didn't show up.
Oh no. Oh no.
Actually, the company had 35,000 employees and he was
Wow.
busy with meetings.
Yeah. Something else came up.
Something else came up, and so I came back the next day and waited all day.
Oh wow.
And he didn't show up again.
Dang.
He's gonna come.
Yeah,
Don't do that if you're in management. Don't do that.
that's
However,
good.
what happened was there was a manager in human resources who said to me, "You are the most patient person I have ever met or seen,
Mhm.
and would you like to work in HR?" And that's
Wow.
how HR.
Oh
Yes.
wow. Okay. So I mean that kind of goes to the like persistence pays off, because some people, I think if you go and, the employer or the person doesn't show, you go the next day and it's like, okay, well, this isn't for, you know what I mean? Like clearly this isn't going to work out. I'm going to move on to something else or I'm going to whatever. But that's a that's a good like tip for people of like, hey, keep push, keep showing up, keep being there and, eventually something will come your way.
Yeah, great attitude is, like 70% of the job. If you're having an
Yeah.
attitude, willing to be patient or just have empathy for the person that you're trying to meet but
Right.
cannot. Obviously, he knew I was waiting for him at the employment office and he couldn't make it. I took the
Yeah.
day off. I took the next day off too, just to
Dang.
get I knew there was an opportunity. It was a
Mhm.
massive company with a great reputation. I didn't
Yeah.
want to pass that opportunity.
That's a good idea. I mean, again, that's kind of that like, hey, this is going to be a great opportunity. I just got to keep working for it. I mean, working for it is like showing up sometimes. That might be the work. Yeah.
Might be the work. It fell in my lap and it turned into something, my career. It's
Hmm.
a career, and I had beautiful opportunities, blessed with many jobs and learning experiences from that point on.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I'm assuming like once you start getting into that role, it's something that you enjoy doing or that, it seems like a good job at least, because like a lot of times with things like that, you fall into it and then you might be like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. But that seems like, maybe it was a good fit.
Yeah, I'm a people person. I feel like I'm a good people person. I understand and I have empathy and I
Hmm.
pretty compassionate, I think, myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I love to see people grow. I think if you have any of those types of qualities, you're pretty much a good place in HR.
Yeah. Okay. Um, is that tip now, your path might be a little different, but is that typically like a job you'd have to go to college for? You'd have to get like a degree for? Or is it something, that you can kind of just like slide into?
What I think the degree would get you is just promotional opportunities
Yeah.
quicker.
Gotcha.
Because in HR, a lot of times you have to learn from the ground up.
Hmm.
Really, you need to learn about training and recruiting and benefits. There's so many different aspects of HR. And if I were to tell a new person, I would say get a mentor fast if that's your career choice, because they're the ones that you can talk to and say, hey, what should I do next? What path should I take
Hmm.
if you want to continue in that career path?
Yeah, they could also like open doors for you that may not, typically be there for you. I'm assuming.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that something that I'm learning while doing this job a lot is like sometimes, I mean, the path like going to school and all that works, but like a lot of times it's experience. Like get in there, start doing the job, and then you'll figure it out kind of as you go. The Matt or my brother, he just finished law school, and I had mentioned this in the last podcast too, but like he said like law school kind of teaches you the law and like what the how to be a lawyer, but not like how to practice. Like once you get in there and you're like, oh, this is how you apply the law, as opposed to like they don't really like teach you how to practice until you're actually doing it. So it kind of seems like it could relate.
It totally relates. You need to
Yeah,
learn how to do different aspects. And here in Las Vegas, an important aspect is understanding labor law.
true.
It's not just employment law. You need to know labor law. There's many unions here in Las Vegas. And I think that was a big turning point in my career when I was at one of the major casinos.
Mhm.
I actually I had a management want me to go to a different hotel with them, and I just said, no, they're selling that hotel. I don't want
Mhm.
to go to that. And they said, well, I really need your skills over there. And I said, well, I really don't. I don't think I want to go. I mean, I'm at a big hotel already, and I know they're selling that hotel. I needed an incentive to go, and I
Yeah.
was already kind of getting bored of my job that I had at
Mhm.
the time. It was a great job, but still, I wanted to grow, and I made a bargain with him. I made a bargain with the management. I said, I tell you what, if you teach me labor law, I'll go, because I knew that was a huge aspect of my job that I needed to get that um, experience under in order for me to continue to grow in my career.
Yeah.
I just never thought I was career minded, but I naturally am, I guess, a high achiever. I want to go and achieve.
Yeah. A go-getter.
I am a go getter. I just
Mhm.
don't settle down where I'm at and say, okay, this is good. And I don't think if you're not a go-getter, you're definitely not going to get to a VP level at a major casino on the strip for sure.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, that seems like that would be a, coveted position that a lot of people would want. So it's like you got to go after it if that's something you're interested in. Something else you had mentioned like labor law. I would assume being in Vegas, do you have to know gaming law as well?
Well, you do need to have understanding of gaming law.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, without it, the casino's not going to have a gaming license. So there's different hoops that people have to get. I didn't have to have a gaming license,
Hmm.
but normally the president of the property would have to have a gaming license. It's quite extensive process to get your gaming license. You're not going to get it overnight. It'll take years to get it, and mountains of paperwork. I mean, your life is exposed as a gaming executive completely from beginning to end.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there seems like there could be a lot of pitfalls that you could fall into if you're not doing things properly in that situation.
We'll close the business down really quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my job, I think knowing the right people and who to go to for questions or learning opportunities was huge.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that kind of, again, like that kind of seems like, a lot of people's path, that something that I'm learning is that, regardless of the job, it's a lot of who you know, a lot of getting your own experience under your belt and kind of moving along that way. Um Something that I find fascinating with every job that we talk about, because I don't know, is what does an average day look like? So if you're, back back when you're a VP running things, is that like a nine? I mean, I'm assuming it's not a 9 to 5, but I don't know. Like, is it something where, what time are you in? What time are you out? What does your day look like? Are you in an office most of the time? Are you walking the floor? Like, what does that kind of look like?
First of all, I would try to look at my calendar before I leave the night before to see what's happening the next day, just to kind of check it out. Okay, I need to do this. My phone, lifeline, emails, you'd get a couple hundred easy a day.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember one time when they had pagers.
Nice.
I had two phone lines, a pager and my cell phone ringing at the same time. It was just when phones were coming out. And it
Hmm.
was, what do I answer first? So you really need to be highly organized and able to, handle multiple tasks at the same time. So I would come in mostly about 8 a.m. A lot of times I would be there at 8 p.m. And I tried not to work on Sundays, but sometimes you would have to go in. But really, it's here in Las Vegas, HR hours would be a Monday through Saturday, sometimes till noon, or sometimes Monday through Friday. Sometimes, we're a 24-hour business, so you had
Yeah.
to be home for 24 hours. Employees have challenges at all times of the night when you're running a 24-hour operation. So really, not as VP, I would get those calls. When I was employee relations manager, I would get calls at 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. It didn't matter what time it was. It was a 24-hour business at that time.
Oh,
That's
wow.
why relations was my favorite.
Oh man, that's something that I really cherish about this job. I mean, obviously, like, hey, there's its own pitfalls. It's not, necessarily the most steady income and things like that. But something that I really enjoy is, like, I don't have anyone to answer to at 2 in the morning. Like, I can shut off, I can be done, I can do what I want to do. But yeah, that seems like that could be a little rough if, like, a middle of the night issue arises. Like, you're the point person. It's your job.
Right, you would get calls, there's crisis, of course. But normally 8 to, whenever I finish.
Hmm.
And then we had meetings throughout the day scheduled, of course, with the individuals. I'd have meetings with my employees, my HR team. We had, let me see, we had about 20 HR individuals that reported to me at my last job.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the easiest job in the world necessarily.
Yeah, you could have employee grievances, employee arbitrations, depending on what property you were at. If you had union employees, you would have to meet with union leaders. You would have to meet with our attorneys. You would have to meet with our executive team. Um,
Do you ever have to go to court?
uh, Once.
Oof.
Yeah, I was very fortunate.
Yeah.
But I always sought legal counsel. When you're terminating an employee or you have an issue, a legal issue, just the VP of the property is not enough to especially when you're at a big property. You need to seek legal counsel advice before any final action is taken.
Sure. I actually have a question about that in later on in the podcast, so we'll get to that eventually.
Oh,
Um is there, so if this is something you go, hey, I don't really want to talk about that, we'll move on to the next question, but is there like a pay range you could give to where people can have an idea of, like, what Are you like at, I don't even know a example to give.
Well, let me tell you the positions. You
Sure.
have normally an HR representative, please forgive me, people person, people
Hmm.
represent. There's so many different titles now in human resources that a company uses. Team leader, but at the last property, there was an HR representative. That's probably the entry level.
Okay.
Then you go to an HR coordinator, and then you go to a specialist position, depending on where you're at. It could be in benefits, it could be
Hmm.
in labor relations, training and development. It could be in workers' comp as well. So the different aspects have different levels, and then you
Gotcha.
need to learn those levels in order to move on. Unless you're in management, then you might kind of absorb one of those areas and have to sometimes learn on the job. If
Yeah.
that's, if you're lucky, you get to do that. Um, so you have the coordinator, you have the specialist, then you have a supervisor, you might have a manager, you might have a senior manager, you could have an assistant VP, and you can have a VP, and you can have a senior VP, and it all depends on the size of your company. My last company, we had a senior VP of corporate HR.
Oh,
And
wow.
so,
Okay.
yeah, that means that there's multiple properties, some in Asia, some here in Las Vegas. It could be some back east as well. And they have oversight of all of those properties, and the HR initiatives might be the same or they might be different based on the location and based on the laws and based on the pay range. So when you say about pay range, it can go, it can go from literally um $15 an hour for the lower rates, all the way to $350,000 in annual salary.
Wow. Okay. So it's a very wide range. It's not necessary. Gotcha.
There-
Depending on your level. I also didn't realize when you were going through all those, I didn't realize there's so many levels. Like I would have guessed, hey, you got, entry HR, maybe a step, and then maybe but wow, like HR's for everything.
Yeah, there is HR love. And when you learn from the ground up, I
Hmm.
mean, you're really gaining a lot of knowledge in each of those steps and in each of those areas, because it can be so specialized. And here in Las Vegas, that's what you find a lot, that you have a specialty, whether it's employee relations or if it's benefits. And that's why I say you have to be persistent in what you want and learn those aspects, or you can be kind of stuck in a certain job for a very, very long time. And by me demanding, hey, if you want me, you have to teach me this, then I kind of laid down the groundwork. I need to learn this. It's not because I wanted to be, um, you know, all that. It's because I needed that experience.
Yeah, it's like, a toolkit. Like I need these things in my toolkit. I need this, I need that, I need that. Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Man, that's something I just thought of too is like, do you, as a VP, are you traveling a lot? You mentioned Asia, you mentioned other like, do you have to go there and like train people? Do you just kind of stick to yours?
Sometimes people do, yeah. Sometimes
Nice.
I had other people go that reported to me that would go to different states.
Mhm.
One time, one of the larger companies was opening a property in Mississippi, and they took a lot of our team over there to help train the different jobs in food and beverage, hotel management, just everything, engineering facilities. It's a city. The
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it that I think people forget or like just miss, where it's like, yeah, food and beverage. I mean, hospitality, obviously, but like all the way down to like we have electricians, we have, plumbers in case something goes wrong. Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah, we have gardeners, we have,
Yeah.
it's, and some of the properties have different unions, Teamsters for the gardening or moving, electricians union,
Hmm.
carpenters union, painters union, culinary union, dealers union.
Yeah.
There's all these, I have 9 unions at one of my properties that we manage.
Seems like way too much work for me. That's why I do this. This is simple. I answer to me and maybe my producer, like that's about it. Like anything else, no, thank you.
Yeah. It was exciting and it was fun, and it was gratifying, and you get to mentor a lot of people. I have a lot of people that I'm still very close to that I worked with. I'm retired now,
Mhm.
so life is really grand.
Yeah, now it's a lot, hey, I can just sit back and people ask me questions about what I used to do like this and I'll talk about it. Uh can you play at the casino that you work at? Or is that like frowned upon?
Some frontline employees might be able to play. A
Mhm.
lot of times it's just frowned upon in
Yeah.
all the hotels, casinos that I worked at. It was frowned upon.
That's what I mean. I figured, like, not that you're gonna cheat or anything, but it's the ability to, or like, whatever seems like it might be a little greater than if you're at a random place that nobody knows you.
Right. Management could not.
Mm,
You could
okay.
not. Absolutely not. Uh, inside one of the casinos.
Okay. We touched on job hierarchy. That's something I like to talk about a lot, but we kind of touched on that of like, hey, if I'm VP, I got a lot of people under me. It's not just, two people or, a easy chain. It's more like a tree, it seems like, different branches, different, avenues, different people I got to talk to.
And depending on the size of the property too, for
True.
me, that if for my first company that I worked for, that I sat in their waiting area forever,
Hmm.
uh, they probably had a couple hundred employees at
Wow.
that site for human resources only.
Jeez.
Because I know employment probably had 50.
Wow. That's it's so like, again, something I like to talk about a lot too is like you don't know what you don't know, and that's like why I do this. It's like I don't, these things just right over my head. Like I would be like, oh, if I go into a casino or a big property, I'm like, I don't know, 100 employees total, and it's like no, there's like 100 in HR alone. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
yikes.
no,
Okay.
quite a quite a bit of people. However, a small company um, might have, when I say small, maybe 100 people,
Mhm.
might have two HR people.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense when you kind of like lay it out like, hey, we got painters, gardeners, dealers, culinary. Like, it's one person can't do that. Like, it'd be impossible. You'd have to be able to split yourself into 100 different pieces to go 100 different ways. So, okay, that makes sense. Um, if I were to say, hey, I'm starting, my role in HR, is there any advice you would have for me, like first starting out? Good piece of advice.
Um, Learn as much as you can. Find a good mentor in your area. Network with like people. That's huge in HR. It's how I got promoted so many times when I went from one hotel or casino and hey, networked with individuals and they said, oh, maybe you might want to interview Rita for this job. And she has the experience, she has, the labor, the employee relations, blah, blah, blah. And so I think network is huge in human resources. There's associations that you can network with, and they have monthly meetings. Not hard to find at all if that's the profession that you want to choose. But in any profession, network with different colleagues and different businesses so that you can understand, other aspects of HR that you might want to consider.
Yeah, learn things that, like this, for example, learn things that you never even thought were out there or that you had any idea about. Okay. That's interesting. Is there anything that you would personally change along your path? So, from start to finish, is there something that you go, ah, man, I really wish I would have done X, or I really wish I wouldn't have done Y? Is there something that you can think of that would fit that?
I would have gotten my degree, I never finished.
Mhm.
So I would have finished. I think it would have made it easier for me. I don't think it's the end all because I never finished and I really was successful in my job. And I know presidents of property that never got their degree as well. And
Yeah.
the presidents of mega resorts. However, determination, knowledge, you got to be pretty intelligent.
Yeah.
And just flexible. I always used to say, you got to be flexible like Gumby, if you know what Gumby is.
Yeah, oh yeah,
It's definitely aging me here.
yeah. Gumby
But,
and Pokey.
Gummy and Pokey, because, you'll be on this path and the next minute you'll be on that path. And, addressing one employee issue or management issue, and then just turn around and get whiplash and have to, so just be flexible. But we were talking about networking and
Yeah.
colleagues, and just surround yourself with the people that encourage you.
Hmm.
You know, there's
Yeah.
my husband was a huge encourager, and so
Nice.
I think I was really blessed by being surrounded by great family and friends and colleagues that, wanted to see me succeed.
Yeah. I mean, that's I mean, that I think is good advice for any job. Like, any job out there, like surround yourself with the right people. If you're surrounding yourself with people who are always trying to out to get you or, want to talk behind your back or, they're just there for, hey, I'm here for me and me only. It's never really gonna help you in the long run. You gotta surround and on the flip side, be that person too. Like be the person that helps out, and says, "Hey, check out this person for this job," or go to this event and network, stuff like that. Don't just be solitary island out there.
Exactly, exactly. And, be willing to take those classes that you need to take. I received my SPHR Senior Professional Human Resources Certificate
Nice.
because I knew without my degree that was going to be invaluable. That actually showed people, oh, she knows the business. If you have that certification, it was really key, I think, in helping me, um, executives know that, oh, okay, she really understands human resources.
Yeah, maybe she doesn't have the degree for it, but she has the certifications for it. She's willing to go out there and learn new things and take the right classes, stuff like that. Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. Um, is there so I have a couple job questions. I mean, we kind of touched on one already, but something that fascinates me, and I'm assuming this is really HR related, is firing people. Maybe that's not. Maybe I shouldn't be fascinated by that, but I don't know. Like, it seems interesting to me. So is as first, have you ever had to fire somebody?
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
I'm assuming so. And then is if somebody's out there listening that's like, man, that's the part of my job that I'm just not a fan of. Like I don't want to fire people. Do you have like what's a good kind of tips or advice for them of like, hey, here's a good way to go about it?
Yeah, I think humility here is important. I think putting yourself in their shoes for a moment to say, what are they going to feel like
Hmm.
when this happens? And people make mistakes, big mistakes. You've made big mistakes. I've made big mistakes. And so put yourself, have a little bit of empathy when you're doing this. I mean, the best feeling is when someone says, I know I did wrong. Thank you for treating me kindly. I'll try to do better. I mean, that's all you can do is tell them, hey, maybe you're good at your job, but you're not good at this job right here at the
Right.
moment. So just have a heart when I know some HR professionals that have not had hearts,
Yeah.
and that just makes it look horrible on our entire, you know, our industry. It's not good
Yeah.
for our industry when you're not treating people with compassion and empathy when they messed up.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not their fault.
Gotcha. Yeah. Like instead of being like cold hard and just being like, you're out, bye, see you, there's the door.
Yeah,
Like, okay.
or hit yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Does cheating fall like if you caught somebody cheating at a dealer cheating or a patron cheating, does that fall on your plate or is that a different job?
A deal or cheating, yes.
Has that ever happened?
Yes.
Oh man, dang.
Yeah, or theft. Yeah,
Oh, mhm.
definitely theft. There's so many reasons, someone can get fired, but in my opinion, it's hard to get fired.
Right, you have to be
You,
almost trying to.
you
Like,
you really have to screw up to get
mhm.
fired. I mean, sometimes it's out of your control. I mean, if you're sick and you keep on missing days and excuse me, you know, you can't return to work.
Yeah.
We have laws that we have to comply, and follow. FMLA, intermittent leave. There's all kinds of laws to protect the employee, and I'm glad they're there.
Mhm.
Uh, but sometimes it's just out of your control. Somebody has to fill a position because you're not there, so it's not their fault, and that happens as well.
Sure, sure. I mean, that kind of, that maybe I'm wrong, but from what I see out there, that seems to be something that's, maybe the trend now is like people calling out, people not being available, and then hey, like this just isn't gonna work. Like you gotta be where we need you to be. But yeah, the cheating one, that seems like that could get a little spicy.
Yeah,
If you got to call somebody out and be like, I see you stealing, like we know you're doing it. Yeah.
I've reviewed many a surveillance tapes for
Hmm.
sure,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah, that could be fun. I mean, not fun necessarily, but that seems like, like detective work almost. Like, okay, run the tape back. Let's see. Okay, wait, forward a little bit. Okay, zoom in. Ah, there it is. See it. Ah, that's them. Got it.
some people. I just shake my head, some people.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Because I mean, if that's happening, clearly they think, oh, I can get away with this, no problem. But
I could
not
write
so much. Not with Rita on the case. Yeah,
a
like it. Um, Before we get to the, little end portion that I always like to do, is there something that you thought I would ask that I didn't ask, or that you thought we would talk about that we didn't talk about, or that you feel is necessary for the viewer to hear?
Oh, no, I think HR is a great career. I mean,
Mhm.
I loved it. Again, I said I thought I was very blessed to be able to be in that career and have people that were happy to mentor me. I mean, I really had multiple people mentor me in various stages of my career, and I was blessed to have them.
That's awesome. I mean, that's something that I would hope for any of my friends that have jobs, any of my family that has jobs, is like I just hope that there's good people around you, that it's not something that you wake up every day and you go, ah, dang it, gotta go to this job. Like, ugh, like I'd rather have, hey, like I get to go see my friends, I get to go, hang out with the people I enjoy being around. Are there some, aspects that I don't particularly like? Sure, that's going to be with every job. That's like when I have to edit a podcast, not my favorite thing, but hey, what are you going to do? But yeah, that's part of every job. But I think overall, if people can just be like, I'm happy in my job, I enjoy doing this, that's all you can really hope for in the end.
Yeah, sometimes there's a lot of politics. That was my
Hmm.
least favorite part of the job. I hated the politics,
Hmm.
and there's quite a bit of that sometimes that you have to manage.
Yeah.
Um, it's really a fulfilling job if you like to mentor people, if you like to um, watch people grow. That's HR is a great career.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be pretty cool too, to like see somebody you've mentor either, take off at where they go, hey, I gotta fly the coop, I'm going to a new company, but then you see them like grow and flourish. It's like, I was part of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and people that are in college right now and they want a taste of HR, internships are a great way to kind of get a different flavor of what HR has to offer them as a career. So
Yeah.
I would highly recommend someone do an internship. If you're in college and have a summer internship, apply for those internships. I know the major casinos, all of the major casinos in Las Vegas give some internships now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say every casino, but a lot of
Sure.
the, or your college might have a mentorship program that they offer. We had a mentorship program with UNLV,
Hmm.
and many of the kids that were going in college went into HR, and after they graduated, we got them in HR. It's probably not the highest paying job that you expect, but it has a lot of potential to get there if you want to
Yeah.
get.
Well, and your ability to like dip your toe in the water and then see, maybe you go, you know what? This isn't what I thought it was going to be. This isn't what I want to do. I want to be behind the scene, or I want to be, at my desk all day, not have to, manage all these people. And so you learn that. You go, oh, okay. maybe I'll take a left turn or right turn and do something different. But maybe it's something that you tip your toe in and you're like, oh, this is perfect for me. This is what I want to do. And you can go forward with it. That's cool.
And every industry has human resources.
That's true.
A lot of opportunity.
Yeah. That's true. Even like, I mean, even like sports teams, I'm sure if you're into sports and but you want to do HR, like there's got to be something. Okay.
My former VP of HR is VP of major sports team here in Las Vegas.
Nice. That's awesome.
And gaining into some completely different industry. But basically, HR is HR, no matter where
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. Same kind of thing, just different applications, maybe.
Right. Good opportunity.
That's pretty cool. Last bit of the podcast, that's pretty much all I got for you. I like to leave for my guest. So if there's something you want to, promote, a side business, a cause, charity, something you just think people should know, here's your time.
Let me see. Now that I'm retired, I volunteer a couple of days a week at Olive Crest. It is a nonprofit organization that helps families stay together. And you could be a single parent and need your children cared for a couple of weeks while you are hospitalized or there's a crisis in the family, and they have foster families that care for these children. They also have programs for kids that are coming out of the foster system and they have no place to go. They house them. They have a program that they have to sign up for two years, but they teach them basic housekeeping, financial, career choices, how to go to college, maybe how to apply for scholarships. Really great organization,
That's
nonprofit
awesome.
here in Las Vegas, but they're also in California and they're in another state. I want to say New Mexico, but
Okay.
they're here because they have a good presence here in Las Vegas. Great
That's
nonprofit.
awesome.
So I volunteer
Yeah.
I sell my painting. I paint.
Nice. I was looking at those while we were talking. I'm like, it's almost like, I like trying to pay attention, but then I'm like, whoa, what is, those are sweet in the background.
Yeah, they're just stuff
Awesome.
that I paint and sell it. I give the proceeds to Olive Press. So,
Cool. Oh, that's great. That's great. We'll put links in the story. So if you guys are somewhere you can't write things down right now, go to YouTube, check the show notes. All the links will be in there. So you guys can, learn stuff on your own, purchase a painting, things like that. But I just want to say, again, thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate you sharing, kind of your story, to sharing your time with us, and maybe shining a light on a job that people might think they know about, but maybe they don't know all the details about.
oh, you're welcome, Brennan. All right. Take care.
Well, that's it for another episode of the Jobology podcast. Thank you, Rita, for sharing your experiences in human resources. Before I let you guys go, a couple quick reminders. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow at Jobology Podcast on all major social media platforms, and make sure you're commenting what jobs you'd like to see next. Like we say to end every episode, make good choices.